So I'm rather quite happy this week because finally I've been able to play Obduction from Cyan Worlds. That came out a couple of weeks ago, and I'd had a go at playing it previously on a laptop. It didn't have the specs, but I could play it a bit. But then I got stuck. So I got stuck on this this cart ride. I say ride. This cart puzzle, and every time I loaded the game up, I would get stuck in the cart and wouldn't be able to leave. So when I reported this, it was just basically because my computer was rubbish, and so I've been meaning to play this for such a long time, wanting to play it, and yeah, so it came out on the MacBook Pro, and so for the last few days I've been playing it, getting frustrated with the game, and then moving on to the next puzzle. I hated it. At times I hated the game. I'm not good at maths, and one of the puzzles early on requires you to learn how to count like an alien species, and that's not spoiling the game at all because it's a game called Obduction, so it's about aliens and people being abducted. But in order to solve a puzzle you have to learn how to count, and counting for us, we go up to 9, move on to 10, and that's called base 10. Their counting system is sort of in another base of numbers. So they don't go up to 9 and then sort of on to the next digit along. It's different, and I struggle with base 10. I do, and then to have to learn how to count in another language, yeah. It was tough. It was tough, and I was very unhappy because my mind immediately had all these mental blocks going down, which I had to step away from a bit from the game and go back to afresh until I solved the puzzle. But once I solved the puzzle and got my head around it, it was rewarding. But as soon as you've done that, boom, you're straight onto another puzzle. And a lot of them are more sort of graphical, a lot more sort of shapes and figuring out how things work, which I quite enjoy doing. And the Mac I've got isn't the newest. It's a couple of years old now. I believe it meets the minimum specifications, which was rather surprising, but it does meet them. But it does mean that loading between areas of the game can be a bit slow, and some of the puzzles require you to sort of traverse between different areas of the game, and it just means that you just have to make yourself a cup of coffee while you go between solving puzzles. And so I drank quite a lot of coffee on one puzzle in particular that required an awful lot of running about, and then an awful lot of loading up the next area, and then you have to jump backwards and forwards. But it was worth it. It was really good, and I put it purely down to the fact that Cyan World has always pushed technology, push things on forwards a bit. With Myst, they pushed it on in terms of CD-ROMs. So when they made Myst, they had to lay out the CD-ROM so that everything loaded in the correct order on the disc, which you don't really have to worry about at all now. And people had to go out and buy CD-ROMs for that game. With Riven, they pushed sort of the graphics capabilities. I remember when we got Riven, all the videos were really slow because there were these full screen videos in places, and our computer stuttered a lot. But then eventually sort of technology caught up with the game in that regard, and now when you play it, I mean, you can play it on a phone. You can play it on a phone. Noodlecake Studios are still developing it so it plays natively on a phone without having to be really nerdy about it. Then with what was it, Myst 5 with Euro, I guess they pushed the whole community side of things, so people going in from all over the world and joining one server in order to explore worlds and sort of solve puzzles together, and that hadn't been done before, as I went into in a previous video. And then with Myst 5, they went into the whole getting realistic characters into a game, and they did all right. It was a bit hairy in places, but they were pushing technology again, and they told a really good story. And then now with Obduction, the graphics capabilities with that are great. So you've got a moderately realistic environment. It's not the hyper-realism of Riven because they didn't need real-time graphics, so their models could be a lot more detailed because they would do the rendering of the graphics in their studio themselves, and all the player would be presented with would be a a picture of that, so the end result, so their computers didn't have to do any of the processing. Now with Obduction, it's a real-time 3D game, and with an awful lot of sort of effects in the game and a lot of sort of detail, a fair amount of detail, and they've pushed the amount you can get away with, and that does make it rather tricky to play. It's more of an art form. I think the first puzzle is setting up the settings for the graphics, and to start with I went in there into sort of the game, into their world, with it set up as the default settings that it detected, and the game was explorable but unplayable because the textures on all the notes and books were illegible. You couldn't read it. So what I've ended up doing is, as I was playing it, was heavily tweaking all the settings, and I'll put up a screenshot of what I've got my graphic settings configured as. I'm looking forward to playing it on a new computer one day when I've got the specs and I can sort of explore it and have all the animations looking beautiful. So that brings me now on to the next bit. I've had to stop playing it briefly because as it's just been released on Mac, I've hit a bug, and that bug has meant that I'm now able to record this video, because every time I solved a puzzle I'd then be presented with the next puzzle and I couldn't put the game down, which is a testament to how good I'm finding the game. Not all the puzzles sort of throw your laptop at the wall, difficult. Some of them are tedious, but they're beautiful and they are very, very clever. So I rather like that. It's, you know, Cyan do that with their games. So Riven, I literally put it down for ages, picked it up, put it down, picked it up, put it down until I completed it. Obduction, I've not had to do that. So that means that although the puzzles are difficult and some of them are time consuming, they're not overly difficult. You know, they've managed to find some sort of a balance. And although I personally hate maths, there's a lot of people out there who love maths. So I need to go back, because when I started playing it with the low graphics, I couldn't read anything. I've got to go back now and read through some of the journals to try and sort of pick the story out of it, because the story is really deep. And I'm getting to a stage now where I feel I need to know what's going on in order to win the game. I mean, Cyan are notorious, so I'm making an assumption here. They're notorious with having what's the word? Moral. So their games are full of moral choices, and they teach you, and you do what's morally right. So, VR, virtual reality. It does virtual reality. I don't know too much about it. What is it? Is it on the Oculus or the other? One of them, it's supported, so it's either the Sony one or the Oculus one. It's supported. They're bringing it out on the other at some point as well, so that's in development. But if you've got VR, if you're snazzy enough to have all that, check it out. I hear it's brilliant. I hear you feel you're there. You get a new sense of scale to the game. So while you're walking around these breathtaking environments, you actually feel like you're there. It is quite ironic because it does mean, with the age of people getting motion sick in virtual reality, people have moved back to doing point and click. So if you've got VR, you're ending up going back in time a bit, because you're playing a virtual reality. You're playing a Myst game, but you're playing it as point and click, which is what Myst games traditionally were. So I find that slightly amusing myself. But that's it. I think that's all I've got to say on it. I'm looking forward to finishing it. It'll be sad to finish it in a way rather quickly. But it does bring something to the table which I was quite looking forward to with Yuru, before that sort of slowed down. When that was in development, they were opening up new areas all the time, and the promise was to open up this city area, and I was quite looking forward to being able to just explore and take time walking around. But yeah, so you can do that with this game, and there's a lot of that. And while I was getting a bit frustrated with all the running about between places, I did think, actually, this is an extensive environment. I've wanted this from a Cyan game, and now I'm frustrated with it. So I had to stop myself being frustrated, because the environments are epic in size, and rather fun if you just stop trying to be in a rush and just settle back into the world and environment and just let yourself get immersed. So that's important. You have to sort of start playing it with the right frame of mind. It's an immersive game. You've got to sort of just settle into the game and the rhythm of the game, and sort of let it become your world while you play it. And yeah, so that's it for this week's video. Next week's video, I haven't a clue what I'm going to do. I know there's a bit of a delay with this one, but blame that on every time I went to make the video, I'd unlocked a new puzzle and I wanted to get a bit further before doing the review, and then a bit further, and then a bit further, and now the game has stopped me, and I've made the review, so I can't wait to finish it. Anyway, so next time I haven't got a clue what I'm going to do, so I'll see you then. Please like, share, subscribe, and sort of show me some support. I'd love it. And take care. Bye.